Let's talk 12-year-olds. I've talked to a bunch of homeschoolers recently. I want to talk to you about 12-year-olds. I'm repeating because it looked like the video didn't start right when I thought it did. 12-year-olds. In the descriptions, there's a link to a homeschool survey, which will give me a peek behind the curtain of what you have going on in your homeschool so that I can breathe specific encouragement to you in your life. So please take 5 minutes after this video to complete that survey. 12-year-olds. Every single time I see that number, I just remember the struggle that we had, specifically with our oldest son. We got better and better at parenting and homeschooling 12-year-olds as we had more kids. By the time our youngest got to 12, we were seasoned pros, and although there were a few hiccups, it wasn't as bad as it was the first time that we went through the gauntlet. There is something incredibly challenging about 12-year-old kids. By the end of this video, we're going to talk about the gauntlet. We're going to talk about what to focus on first. We're going to talk about what kinds of things to inspire your kids. We're going to talk about unplugging, and we're going to talk about breaking free. So stick all the way to the end so that you get all the tips. This is relevant if you have kids 9 to 14, because I say 12, but some kids hit it early and some kids hit it late, but it's right around that 12-year-old flood of, okay, I only had sons, so for us it was testosterone, but that flood of hormones that transforms your little darling into the shadow of the adult that they're going to be. And it hits right at the same time that curriculum falls short 100% of the time. Well, 99.7% of the time. So here's the deal. When your kids suddenly get flooded with hormones, they end up going through this transformation that short circuits their brain, causes them to potentially be over emotional, very weepy. It's very typical to have kids just melt into tears and be frustrated. And it's frustrating for mom, it's frustrating for dad, it's frustrating for them. And it seems like everything is the straw that breaks the camel's back at that age. So when you're looking at through the lens of homeschool, and you have this 12-year-old child, again, I only have my scientific pool of boys, but I've heard it's similar to girls as well. I'm sure it is. Somebody that has daughters, please comment below. Here you have curriculum that means nothing to them. It's dry, it's boring, and they're not interested in the information on the page. At the same time that they're flooded with hormones, at the same time that they're like, yeah, okay, I get that you want me to do this history assignment, but can't I just, and then fill in the blank of what they would rather do. So understand first that your child is not strange. They're not different than other kids out there on the planet. They're not being defiant. They're not trying to be difficult. They're just in transition. If we were to create an analogy that would show you the challenge of this gauntlet, I would use the analogy of childbirth, and that 12-year-old age is the same level of challenge and difficulty as transition is in childbirth, where the baby comes through the birth canal and is just about to present itself into the world. That 12-year-old gauntlet is like that. It can be sudden, it can be excruciating, it can be filled with all kinds of excitement. And then typically, as suddenly as it began, it can be over. It's this weird, crazy sensation. So understand the gauntlet that your kids are going through. It's a real thing. And the idea, the terminology of gauntlet is there is this, this medieval custom of going through an obstacle course to get from one side to another to prove your. I'm referring to a movie that we watched where I think it was First Night with Richard Gere, Sean Connery, the King Arthur type Lancelot story. And Lancelot had to navigate through a gauntlet in order to win a kiss from the queen. And so this gauntlet is designed to knock you off your high horse, knock you off your feet. And if you make it through, you prove yourself to be valiant. You prove yourself to be worthy. Well, this guy jumps on there and goes through without all the padding, even though there's swords and things trying to knock him off and cut him to pieces. So I equate that surge of hormones and the transformation from boy to man, girl to woman, as this gauntlet, because there are real obstacles to sanity and well-being and peace that are trying to knock your child off kilter. But the goal is to get to the other side. The goal is to get to be the foreshadow of the future adult that they're going to be. So a gauntlet. And if you want more, there's a whole series of that inside Homeschooling Olympians that was worth the time to put together so that you're equipped to manage the gauntlet well. One of the best things that you can do during this season we'll talk about the school stuff in a minute, but the best thing that you can do during that gauntlet season is to lean into the relationships that you have with your kids. They need to be heard. They need to be validated. They need to be asked open-ended questions, and then to have you wait long enough for their short-circuiting brain to process questions, form an answer, and then try to speak it out. So they need more time to process information. They need more time with you. And you need to work really hard to connect with those kids, especially if they're being difficult, especially if they're a ball of emotions and they're just all over the place. I believe that kids in that season through high school need you just as much, if not more, than your infant did. It's a different kind of attention from you, and it's late night attention, just like when they were babies, because there's something magic about dark. When you're exhausted, that's when they want to talk. So make sure you make yourself available and you invest in your relationships with your kids, especially during that time. Set curriculum aside, go for a walk, shoot some basketball, go walk through the mall or pick flowers or garden or groom the dog or whatever it is that your kids enjoy doing. Do that with them. And if they're in that I don't like anything stage, drag them along with you while you're doing something that you enjoy, that you know won't hurt them, and just work really hard at conversation. Ask weird questions when they come back from a sporting team practice. You don't ask them, how was practice? You ask them questions like, did anybody almost die? Your boys will love that kind of stuff. But you want to ask them weird, off-the-wall questions. Did anything embarrassing happen? Get them off kilter, because they'll answer those types of questions. So that's the first thing. The first thing is understand the gauntlet. The second thing is to lean into relationships. The third thing is, this is a time in your child's life that they can see through the fog. They know if you're just pacifying them or if they truly are respected and honored as being part of team family. In our house, it's Team Sailor. Every single one of the kids heard things like, our family doesn't work without you. You are a valuable asset to our family, and without you, we would not be the same. Make sure that they know that they are needed in your family. And that means that they get real responsibility in your family so that they're not just pacified. A 12-year-old can do more than put their laundry in the hamper. They can wash it, they can fold it, they can put it away. They can also be in charge of making sure that the machine, give them real responsibility, but give it a 12-year-old twist. In our house, it was things like laundry captain, or I wish I had heard this title. If you've got somebody that needs to water and feed and clean up after pets, they can be the zookeeper. Get creative with calling the names fun things, but give them chores and responsibilities around the house. They can be the ones that make sure the laundry gets done, that they make sure that the dishes get done, that they clean up after the dog, that they're in charge of the baby after its third nap, feed the horses, put air in the tires of the car, teach them how to, pump gas if it's safe and you're allowed to in your area. Have a little, yard business or something. Give them actual, real responsibility that really does add to the value of the team. So you've got understanding the gauntlet, leaning into relationships, validating their piece to the family. And if you have to, you are looking for ways to connect with them, even if you have to be really creative. Some kids they really struggle during that season. Really struggle. What that means is that they may be really unlikable. And I hate to say that out loud. They may be really prickly, like a porcupine. And you may have to work really hard to find things to praise and encourage them about. But I'm telling you, it's like the secret sauce of getting them through the gauntlet with your relationship with them intact. Again, we did not do it gracefully with our oldest, and we learned over time with kids to do it better and better. It really does make a difference. The next thing is unplug. Not 100%. I'm not here to tell you that your kids should be off screen, but you should limit how much they are on screen. It's going to be different for Susie Q and LaDonna and LaRonda and Peggy and Bekki. Everybody's family is going to have a different benchmark for what they feel is acceptable and appropriate as far as screen time goes. But I'm going to tell you that screen time is, when I was little, they called the television the boob tube, because it turns you into just a zoned out zombie, it's just like booby head. It was like weird phrase, but just like blah. Your kids are the same way, and I know you see it. When they watch TV or play video games all day long, and then you ask them to leave, they're like zoned out, right? They're zombies. And then worse than that, they're grumpy and just blah. Make sure that your kids are unplugged most of the time, if possible. They need to not be staring at screens as much as possible. During this critical stage of the gauntlet, if they're too hardwired into the internet and social media and all of the things, video games, things that are giving them surges of the chemicals that make them feel good, that are not real, right? They're screens. It's not like they hit a ball out of the park, or they got to see a butterfly come out of its cocoon, or see a horse run across a field, or whatever it is that outside of screens delights them. It's not like that. It's a false flood of feel-good juice, and it's addictive, and it detaches them from real life. So you want to have your kids be as unplugged as possible. However, that means that you need to be unplugged as well, as a model of somebody that can live their life without being attached to a screen 24/7. They need to see you laugh and enjoy life without a screen sometimes. so that they can see that it's possible. They're not going to become what they can't see. So you need to enjoy your life, walking and gardening and being an equestrian master and all of those things, volunteering, doing whatever it is you do away from a screen, bringing them alongside with you so that they can see that it's possible. And then you need to be very purposeful with how much they're attached to screens. There's a lot of junk out there on the internet, and I'm not even talking about the junk. We were strict, excuse me, we were strict with technology. We have lived in 2-story houses for at least 10 years. And the kids were never allowed to bring phones and devices upstairs or in bathrooms. They just weren't. All technology was required to be in the kitchen or at the kitchen table. And they still spent too much time on screens because it's always better to be unplugged and to do things in real life. Most of the stuff that they were doing on screens was not critical to their development or their education, especially when they were in that 12-year range. So unplug as much as possible. So again, we're talking about 12-year-olds. We're talking about that gauntlet of change. And it's so challenging that now we're going to talk about homeschool. This is where, as a homeschool life coach, this is where I see homeschoolers trip all the time, because curriculum is not bad, but curriculum works really well sometimes when the kids are little because they don't know stuff yet. They don't have their foundations in place. They don't know how to read, so you're using books. They don't know how to write, so you're using workbooks to just do their basic things. Once they approach middle school, once they approach that 12-year mark, they know the basics. And they live in a world where they're hardwired to a supercomputer, and curriculum just mocks them, and they hate it. They can smell busy work from a mile away. So they open a book, they're distant from it, they don't have an emotional attachment to it, their brains are short-circuiting, and so you watch your kids and you watch the light just go out of their eye. You watch the color drain from their face. They'll break their pencil 42,000 times. They'll need to go to the bathroom 79,000 times. They don't want to do school. They argue with you. They complain about, this is boring. Why do I need to learn this? You may have agreeable kids that are obedient and just do the next thing. But watch them closely. Are they lit? Are they excited? Are they leaning forward as you're doing school? Or are they just, like one of my kids, just getting it done so that he could go do what it is he wanted to do? You want to be very careful, especially in that stage of the gauntlet stage, especially between the ages of 9 and I would say 14, to make sure that you're not just putting dry, boring curriculum in front of your kids for the sake of checking off the box in school. You want to break free from curriculum. It's why we have our Homeschooling Olympians Master Life Group or Life Coaching Group, because it's hard. It's scary to break free from curriculum. It's scary to lean into the passions and talents of your kids and trying to make sure that you actually check off all the boxes. And we love coming alongside homeschoolers and encouraging them, because it's really possible to, in summary, lean into the relationships of your kids and build these amazing connections. Make sure that you're all working together as a team. You're unplugged as much as possible. I know we all are hardwired to the internet. I walk around with my phone in my pocket. I know you do too, probably. So we always have technology at ready. But we need to be able to bust outside and enjoy the fresh air. And if we don't love it, we need to make ourselves go outside and enjoy the fresh air, to model it to our kids that it's a valuable way to spend time. And we need to take that precious season where their minds are being so molded and transformed into the future versions of themselves, and give them experiences and opportunities to explore the world in new ways. and to delight in learning. And it's tricky if you're just turning the page and using curriculum. So anyway, that's my thought on 12-year-olds. I would love to hear how many of you have kids in that season. And please take the time to go complete the survey wherever the link is, because I'd really like to come alongside and to have enough information that I can speak encouragement right into your life. Something giving you a golden nugget of something that you can use in your homeschool this week, this year, right now. Anyway, that's it. Love you guys. Hope you have a great day. Bye.